All right, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for starting a little bit late. I want to welcome everybody to the workshop on April 20th for the Temple City Council. It's currently 3:35. We'll just jump right in with public comments. Nothing? All right, there being none, we'll move on to item 2, which is to discuss as may be needed any regular meeting agenda items for tonight's meeting. So council or staff, is there anything that we want to discuss on consent or regular? Anybody?
Mayor, on item number 5, which is the second reading related to the rezoning case, we talked about it at Emily's last meeting on Shelford with Todd Scott. Just wanted to give a quick update that we've had some initial communication with Mr. Scott regarding the developer participation agreement that we discussed a couple of weeks ago. And those conversations are going well and trending in a good direction. So I do believe that we will be able to bring back a developer participation agreement for your consideration very soon. And so he's been very willing to work with us. And so I have no concern that we will be able to move that forward.
So will they be able just to approve it as
Right.
written?
I feel that I would I would feel confident with you moving forward based on where we're at.
Good. Good, lots of good work. Anything else?
Tell him thank you the next time you talk to him.
Nothing? Before we move on, we need to acknowledge the new grandmother, the grandmother for the second time. Congratulations. Born, huh?
We've been looking at pictures for 20 minutes. They're not here.
She was
Sure.
born about 24 hours ago and she weighed 10 pounds and 4 ounces.
Oh, healthy country girl is coming.
Della Roan is her name.
What is that?
Della, Della, Della Roan, Roan.
Very good.
And Vic's sister got to announce her gender to us.
Nice.
So nobody-
That's right. Y'all didn't know before, did you? Mama's doing okay?
Mom's doing good.
Good. Congratulations. That's
Thank
great.
you. Precious blessing.
Absolutely. Good. Can we move on to item number 2? All right, second, item under the work session is, to have a discussion regarding the proposed municipal utility district. Ms. Meyer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So several weeks ago, we had a meeting with a local developer who is interested in doing a development located outside the city limits, but partially within our ETJ. And part of their proposal involves the creation of a municipal utility district. They are desirous of creating that municipal utility district through the current legislative session that is in process. That does require the consent of the city council in order for them to move forward with that. So I asked them if they would be here today to brief you on the project and the process and see if you all had any concerns with moving forward. Staff has evaluated the request and believes that consenting to the MUD is in our best interest and would allow the property to be developed and provided with utilities. So with that, I'm not sure who's going to take lead on the presentation on y'all's end.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you'll probably hear from
Okay.
all of us.
Very good, thank you.
in various forms.
And we do have your, we've got
Here's some there.
Yeah, I have it.
oh,
Okay.
we're good. There you go.
All
Okay.
set.
You all, should I be up here? What do I do with my hands?
Just keep moving. Just keep moving.
Make laps. My name is Rob Marshall, and first of all, thank you all for the opportunity to be here. Thank you to the staff for getting us to this point. I'll introduce Steve Utley here in a moment, but I'm a lifelong resident, very proud lifelong resident of the city of Temple. And my family goes way, way, way back here as far as I can measure anyway. The roots of our family here trace back ultimately to our family farm between Heidenhammer and Academy on 436. Been in the family since 1836. So very deeply important asset to me and my family and my brother. So thankful for the opportunity to be here. As a community, obviously, we've been blessed with great growth. And with that growth comes, opportunities to assess new ways to serve that growth. So we began exploring municipal utility district and just humbled to be here and thankful for them. I'll bring up Steve Utley, who can tell you a little bit more about it.
So my name's Steve Utley, and I grew up here in Tucker, and have
We went to high school together.
exactly went to high school, yeah, with Jessica here, and known the Marshall family almost my entire life. And we have deep roots here in Central Texas, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but back in 2021, our family had a ranch as well, very similar to what the Marshall family has in just the southeastern portion of Belton. And over an extended period of time, we went through the process to form a municipal utility district on that side. And the purpose behind the municipal utility district is to allow long-term attainable housing, is really what it amounts to. And so it allows for the ability to pay for the infrastructure, which means roads, utilities, being water and sewer. And it also pays for certain offsite costs that aren't located on the property, but that you may need to extend to the property. So for example, we were located off of Toll Bridge Road, and part of our responsibility for forming the municipal utility district was to pay for the improvement of Toll Bridge Road. So that's just an example of the offsites that a special purpose district like this can provide. But with that said, Rob reached out to me and said, would you come in and assist? And I said, absolutely. So with that, I would like to introduce what I'd like to do. And by the way, this is a long-term process, and this is just the first step in a long-term process. And as far as processing all the various approvals that we need, that usually takes somewhere between 18, 24, maybe even 36 months. Okay, so we know that. And then once you do achieve those approvals, you're looking at a 30-year development program. So there has to be a lot of vision, in the upfront in order to take one of these projects on. So anyway, I just want everybody to know that this is a long-term proposition. So with that, we've got experts in the room. We've got our municipal utility district special purpose legal representative, Mindy Caney with Coates and Rose. Their firm is widely known as probably the more successful, law firms that do specifically the special purpose district. And then we've also got Tracy Shannon Kilmer with Kimley Horn, who I'm sure you're familiar with, large engineering firm. And Tracy Shannon acts as our planner. And we can also touch on some engineering questions if you have them. So with that, what I'd like to do is turn it over to you, Mindy, right? Or Tracy Shannon? I'm sorry, turn it over to Tracy Shannon first. Okay, and she's the one who's produced our presentation, so I'll let her take it over from here.
Well, thank you, Steve. Yes, so like Steve mentioned, my name is Tracy Shannon Kilmer. And as Rob mentioned a moment ago, the Marshall farm has been in the family for a very long time with a lot of deep roots here in Temple. The family has owned the property since 1836. They've been residents here in the city of Temple for a very long time and very dedicated to public service. Obviously, Mayor Kiefer Marshall Jr. Was mayor from 1998 through 2002, and that is Rob's grandfather. The property that we are talking about consists of approximately 645 acres of rolling hills and creeks. I'll have a slide here in a moment that shows you where those creeks and floodplains are that we would like to be able to preserve and capture. Of those floodplains, there actually total about 150 acres of the property.
So there's a lot of opportunity in there to be able to provide open spaces and trails. Even like Steve mentioned, long-term looking at outdoor learning activities, outdoor classrooms that we might be able to provide along the trails and outdoor activities. The site is located about a mile from State Highway 190, about 2 miles from Little River Academy campuses, and just under 8 miles to the downtown Temple Medical District. So here's our quick little slide that we have our development team on. Obviously, you know Rob and Steve. Mindy will get up here in just a moment. She's with Coast Rose. Brent Murphy and myself, we round out the development team with Kimley Horn. And we provide the background as the development consultants from both the land planning, land use perspective, as well as from the engineering perspective, so that we can ensure that long-term for a 30-year development project, and then for the lifetime of the project, that you're not only getting a pretty picture, but it works when you actually go to put it on the ground and it's going to have sustainability long time. So for that, our development vision, here we go, is that to design a master plan community that highlights those natural features and the characteristics for not only the site, but within the Temple Central Texas region, by providing overarching design elements that link the entire community. We're talking about a very large piece of property with almost 645 acres. And so to be able to have those design elements in the materials and the signage in the trail system that brings all of that together. That trail system would link the multiple creeks that are existing on the site through the floodplain, additional open spaces within each of the village communities, and their amenities throughout. Our vision is to ultimately provide a variety of lot sizes. We don't want to develop the entire piece of property with only one house size in mind. We want to be able to provide a community that has different lifestyle aspects to that, and different price points. So we would ultimately be looking at a multitude of lot sizes and those lifestyles. For the affordability piece, maybe there is an opportunity for your starter home all the way through your life cycle of your estate. And then if you want to downsize once the kids are out of the house and go back to having a smaller lot so that you don't have to maintain quite as much. So the whole lifestyle cycle within the community. We do want it to be a highly amenitized community. And one of those things that harks back to a MUD being able to help with some long term with construction of those amenities with pocket parks and open spaces. And like I mentioned a second ago, to be able to provide not only various lot sizes, but different lot uses across the land for opportunities with single family. There might be a potential in the market for multifamily, commercial retail, or office space, because we are only a mile from State Highway 190. So that would draw some of that commercial retail out, since again, along 190, about 8 miles to the medical district. So be able to balance some of that out for Temple itself, and just to be able to open up this east side of town as well with the MUD, being able to provide utilities. So this is the site. This is our conceptual bubble plan at the moment. It's really highlighting the developable usable space within the 645 acres. So you can see there is just over 150 acres of floodplain that sits on the site, and the floodplain really dissects the property into about 3 specific tracts. Working backwards, tract C is along Pritchard Road and is the smallest of the 3. And then it has the opportunity to maybe be one of those aspects, because it is a little bit separated, that maybe it has the multifamily component or the office retail component. So we would, over the next several months, be able to investigate how that wants to live and feel within community as a whole. Tracks A and B, you can see with the orange line, are divided by the Temple ETJ. And so that is, again, one of the reasons why we're here with you this afternoon, is because we want to form the consent with the district, with the understanding that we are within the Temple ETJ and we're not solely inside the county. But tracks A and B are the largest of the 3 tracks, and we see them as opportunities to be able to provide those different levels of housing and income and opportunities for the entire community. So now, from the pretty picture, let's switch over to some of the infrastructure side of it. The existing water CCN for the property sits within the Belle Milam Falls, as well as the Central Texas Water Service. The service plan that we see moving forward, we are in discussions, and we would continue to discuss our water service plan. It would be a combination of our existing facilities, being Belle Milam and Central Texas, as well as our own on-site water wells. This would possibly we continue to discuss these options as well with the City of Temple. And we would implore Belle Milam Falls to be our retail provider in that. Our sanitary sewer CCN, there is none. So because of that, we would propose our own on-site wastewater discharge permit and have an on-site wastewater treatment. The purpose of the MUD district would be for the sanitary sewer, the MUD would be the sanitary sewer provider in that instance.
Do you know how close you are out there to City of Temple Water?
I just looked at that map 2 days ago.
You forgot.
I'm gonna dust that off real quick while I'm thinking.
Do you mean water or sanitary?
The water.
Water?
Depends on the size of the line.
Yeah, because we started to,
I think you're 2 miles from,
Serviceable line.
but no, well, I'm not sure it's a serviceable line. So I think you're like 2 or 3 miles from the nearest water line. And I think you're five
I want to say
miles
it's 5.
from is it 36 line that you're planning? What's the big one? The big improvement that you're making is down 36. What road is it? No, 93. It's 93.
93.
It's 93, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. I think we're 5 miles from that.
Okay.
I think it was like 5 point something.
Yeah.
Yeah, just curious. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're making me dust stuff off. Let's see. And then the MUD would also own and maintain any roadway and drainage infrastructure as well. When it comes to roadway, we do recognize that a future traffic study would probably need to be identified for intersection improvements. And we do recognize, and the MUD would then be the financing mechanism for road improvements if, say, additional turn lanes or something needed to be at the 190 intersection. So those type of off-site improvements is something that the MUD would be responsible. And speaking of MUD, hey, Mindy's turn.
So my name is Mindy Caney. I am an attorney with Coates Rose. My specialty is special purpose district. So I've been with Coates Rose since graduation from law school, which is quite a few years back. I think I'm about 17 years in, and it has been my only practice. And so there are lots of different types of special purpose districts, but all are created for the same reason, which is financing infrastructure. So I have developers who come up with these brilliant ideas for master plan communities. I have engineers who tell me what facilities are needed. My job is to figure out how are we going to pay for it. So I worked in the Houston market for 7 years before moving back to the Dallas market. That's where I grew up. I have projects all over Central Texas as well. These districts are financing tools for developers. And so in a traditional type of development that was prominent years ago, what they would do is take all of those infrastructure costs, water, sewer, drainage, and road costs, and put them in the price of the lot, sell the lots to builders, builders sell the lots to end users, i.e. Homeowners. And that was the way the process worked. Now, municipal utility districts started in the Houston market, I would say back in the 60s and 70s. And the purpose of those districts is to finance the infrastructure over time. What that does is it allows us to put in an affordable product. By affordable product in today's dollars, that means in the $400,000-ish range. When I started my career, an affordable product was more like $150,000 range. Of course, with the way that costs are rising so incredibly quickly lately, there are very few master plan communities in the state of Texas that don't have some form of special purpose district. Because what it does is the district itself acts as a taxing entity. And so when people buy property located inside the boundaries of the district, that means they are going to have a tax, much like a city tax. And that tax is used to finance that infrastructure. And so in lieu of the developer getting all of those infrastructure costs back when they sell the lots, the way that the district works is it levies tax inside the boundaries of the district only. So only people who purchase property inside this tract will pay this tax. Once the taxable value inside the boundaries of the district is high enough that the district is able to sell bonds based upon that tax revenue, the district sells bonds and reimburses the developer for those infrastructure costs, which is why it creates a more marketable product and affordable product, because the end user is not having to pay for all of that infrastructure upfront. They're paying for it through a tax. What this offers to the community is more dollars that the developer has to pay for amenities and just a higher quality subdivision. Also, there are very few projects in the state of Texas right now that don't have some form of special purpose districts. I represent about, I'm going to say 400 special purpose districts, and I'm in the process of creating about 70 as we speak. So it certainly is something that has moved kind of from the south up to the north, and it is the way that we are going to pay for all of the infrastructure that's required for this community. And so this project, as we mentioned, is located partially in the county, partially in the extraterritorial jurisdiction. And so we are asking for your consent to the creation of that district. Our proposal is to create that district through the Texas legislative session. We have started that process now, but we will have to have the city's consent to complete it. And that is our ask.
Do you have to have the county's consent also for that portion of the property?
Only the city's consent is required because we're in the city's extraterritorial
Okay.
jurisdiction, but the county does get notices of the fact that we're filing legislation that's pending.
So the county couldn't block it.
If the county wasn't happy with the project, I think that they could probably call the legislature, the sponsors of the bill, and express their concern. If that happened, then we would have to kind of switch paths and we would go through the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to create the district. It's just a different process. That's more of like an administrative process. The legislative process is a political process. And so it's just a different requirement. If you create a district through the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, if you check all of the boxes because it's statute driven, then at the end of the day, we will have a district. The county might slow us down a bit, but the county will get all of the benefits of the county taxes. And so I don't foresee, it's not common at all for a county to have a problem with the
I
municipal
wasn't
district.
implying that in any way.
Oh, yeah.
Just trying to understand it.
Sure. Does anyone have any other questions about districts in general, how they work, how they're created, what this one is going to look like? Because it is a taxing entity, I work very closely with the developers to make sure that every person who buys a house inside the boundaries of this district knows that they're buying property inside the boundaries of a MUD. There are statutory requirements that have to be met, i.e. they have to be provided a notice that they have to sign when they sign a contract. And so when you sign a contract for a home inside the boundaries of the district, there is an addendum to that contract that explains, just so you know, you are buying property located inside the boundaries of a taxing entity, and this entity is going to levy a tax. It is also provided again at closing. And then I help educate developers and builders we want to make sure that everybody understands that they are buying property inside the boundaries of a MUD and it is a taxing entity. Because if they don't understand that, they call me and I don't want that.
So the end user would pay the MUD tax
In
And
lieu
how
of the
long-
city tax.
in lieu of a city tax. But to whom are they paying, school taxes?
To the school. And so what happens is we partner with the appraisal district and the county tax assessor. And so the county tax assessor will have the MUD tax as just a line item along with the other taxes that the resident has to pay. And so it'll have county tax, school district tax, if there's a like a community college tax or a fire district tax, whatever the taxing entities are out there, they will make sure that all of the taxes get paid and then those funds are remitted to the district, to the school district, to the community college.
What ISD?
County.
Is there an expiration date of the MUD?
Yeah.
No, but the way that the district works is it is created for the sole purpose of financing the infrastructure. And so every time the district issues bonds, just like a city, it's typically on a 25-year maturity. And so the district, every time that the district issues debt, it kind of pushes out the creation by the existence of the district by 25 years, right? Because the district has to stay in tax long enough to pay all of the debt service for the bonds that it has issued. And so most districts have a lifespan of 40 to 50 to 60 years. But after all of that debt service has been paid off, then the residents are able to dissolve the district. And that's actually a good point. It leads me to another interesting topic is the district itself. So the district is a political subdivision of the state of Texas that is run by a board of directors. The board of directors initially consists of developer representatives who agree to serve because frankly, we just need someone to serve and no one lives out there because there is no infrastructure. So in the short run, it's people that we qualify to serve on the board of directors, but then we're going to start getting residents. And then as soon as the residents are living inside the boundaries of the district, they are qualified to serve because they're residents and they're voters. And so then they take over the board of directors and then they are making decisions on behalf of the district.
Comes sort of like an HOA in a sense.
It's much like an HOA. The residents can take over much faster a district than they can an HOA because typically the HOA bylaws say something to the effect of the landowner gets to keep the majority of the shares until they are almost built out. Because the person who has the most financial assets at stake is the developer itself, right? Because he wants to be able to finish all his lots. So he needs to make sure that the landscaping is taken care of, the roads are taken care of. And so that's the way that a POA or HOA works. Here, as soon as a resident moves into the district, they are able to run for a spot on the board of directors. And so they will have a say on how long the district stays in effect. The people who live there will have that say.
As the, the bonds are pushed out as they're retired and are renegotiated and pushed out. Does the end user or homeowners costs change? How does the cost change as the bonds change?
Sure. So when a district first starts, typically in the DFW area, the market is about $1 per $100 evaluation for a tax rate. And when it first starts, all of those pennies are for maintenance and operation of the district because the district hasn't issued any debt. As soon as the district issues debt, then the financial advisor, attorneys, the consultants for the district will advise the board that we need to shift some of those pennies over to debt service so we're able to pay the debt service for those bonds. And so after the bonds have been paid for and the district grows, just like a city, right? Because with a city, you may have a tax rate of 60 cents per $100 evaluation, but as there's inflation and increased price of materials, people's valuation on their homes gets greater. And so the tax rate is the same, but the dollars coming in are more. And districts work the same way. And so we're able to reduce the tax rate. And so it's never the case that we want to be sitting on a load of money because we are representing the board of directors and they are residents, right? And so as soon as we are able to shift pennies, then we do that in an effort to reduce the tax rate. And so what you'll see is after the debts have been paid for, year by year, we'll reduce the tax rate by 3, 4, 5 cents as able.
Wow.
Who's proposed as the emergency service provider? If y'all haven't had any conversations with the county, who's gonna provide police and fire services?
So we have not had any of those conversations with the county yet, but districts do have the ability to pay for police, fire, and EMS services. And so typically what happens in the life of the district is we will enter into contracts for those services. For fire and EMS in particular, what we'll do is enter into an agreement with whoever the nearest willing and able provider is. Typically, it's the one who's already kind of zoned to answer 911 calls. And so we'll enter into an agreement with them. Then that agreement has to get approved by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. Once the agreement is approved by the TCEQ, then we take it to the voters to make sure that they want the service. If the voters say yes, typically they do want someone to come when they dial 911, then that agreement is in place and the district is able to use its maintenance and operations funds for police, fire, and EMS services.
Thank you.
One quick comment about Mindy is she sits in your chair for the city of Salina.
Ew.
She is on
So
the
thank you for your
council.
service.
She sits on the council of the city of Salina, so she understands exactly, what you think in your chair. So anyway, she can put herself in your seat. So that's, for me, that's a real benefit to us because we get to see it from both sides. So it gives me confidence when we come in a room like this that she can speak your language.
What's the population of Salina now?
We're right under 30,000 people and one of the fastest growing cities in the state of Texas.
I live there.
Oh, when were you there? We might have been there at the same time.
My dad owns some property there, but then we moved up to Gunter.
Yeah.
Because Salina's a little crowded, I guess.
So I grew up in Salina, my mother grew up in Salina, and my grandmother grew up in Salina. So my kids are fourth generation Salina kids. And it has been really fun to see, I graduated with 42 people.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun to see all the growth, meet all the new people. When I left, there was not a single master plan community. You either lived in downtown or you were a rural kid. I was a rural kid. So it's been fun to see all the growth and what that growth brings. And I did a podcast for the city yesterday and they were asking, what did you like most about being in this small town back then versus now? And what I love about the town now are the conveniences that these houses bring and the diversity you get in the school district. Because in Salina, if you were a sporty kid, you loved Salina because we were very into sports. If you were an artsy kid, not a good spot for you to be because we didn't have theater, we didn't have anything. We didn't have an arts program. Now we have all of those programs. And so I have enjoyed the growth and I've enjoyed the new people, enjoyed the master plan communities, but as you all know, everyone has an opinion. So I get that a lot. Hopefully none of you are on the Facebook because that's where I get most of my opinions, is the Facebook.
Who maintains the roads within the district, the county?
So it's probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So it's either going to be the county or the district. Typically the developers that I represent want to put in curb and gutter roads. And counties don't have the facilities to maintain curb and gutter roads. And so the district maintains the roads. And from a practical standpoint, typically if curb and gutter are done right, it's a 30-year kind of situation. And so I would say half the time it's county, half the time it's developer.
Does the city currently have mutual aid agreements out there with the county? So public safety would come from Temple more than likely.
So yeah, we'd probably end up out there, yes, sir.
When you, I guess, Rob, when you made the first introduction of this, or somebody said that Temple staff is in favor of this, did I misunderstand that? Was that said?
Yeah,
Or
we have
city-
no, based on our evaluation, we do not have any opposition. We don't feel
Right.
like there would be any reason that you wouldn't consent to the creation of the MUD. It's very far away from the city's current city limits. There's, no practical way that we would be annexing this property. If you look at their site location map, the smaller map on the right side of that screen, the property there is shown in red, and you can see kind of the gold or brown color is the current city limits. It's actually closer to the city limits of Little River Academy than it is to Temple. So based on current annexation laws, the property would have to be contiguous to the city limits, and that's just very unlikely to occur.
Are there downsides to the Temple?
One, honestly, that, it comes to mind just through this conversation is emergency services, because the Little River Volunteer Fire Department is not, really practically able to keep up with their current service load. So, if there's not some arrangement made for the provision of emergency services, that could be concerning, because the mutual aid agreements are not intended to be primary response. It's supposed to be in situations where, for some reason, the department needs assistance. They can't get there, they're overwhelmed with response calls at one given time.
Sure.
It's a certain type of response that they're not well, like when we have, for example, brush, volunteer fire departments often respond with us or help us because they're more outfitted for brush, since we're primarily an urban response district. So there be cases where, we would respond and others would respond to us, but the intention is not that the mutual aid provides the primary service. And that's already, I would say, not, we're providing something outside the intent of mutual aid, in my opinion, already. So that would be something definitely, that would be my main concern, is that the impact on emergency services be worked out, so that there's no expectation that the city of Temple is going to provide primary fire and EMS support at no cost. Now, if there's some kind of contract for services, that, that might be different, but
Yeah,
without them paying taxes that support the fire department, that would be a concern.
But contract for services would have to be huge contract for services if we've got to hire more staff and buy equipment, and
Certainly.
you obviously understand all of this, and build buildings.
Yeah, and so districts do enter into contracts for services, and so sometimes those contracts are through the nearest city. Sometimes districts do have the ability to create their own fire staff, buy a ladder truck. They are able to do that. Typically, that's not cost effective, and so they would rather work with the city to improve the facilities that they already have. But from a builder or developer perspective, they need to know that there is a ISO rating that's acceptable, or the homes aren't going to be able to be insured. And so from a marketability perspective, it works itself out, because if someone can't get there, when someone dials 911, there's not going to be a market for that product. And so these districts do have the ability to use their tax dollars to pay for that.
Have you had conversations with Little River Academy Volunteer Fire Department?
I have been.
To answer, following that question, you're our first meeting. We felt like that, to be respectful, we needed to have this meeting first. And we wanted you, so we have not been out in the market talking to really anybody, or any jurisdiction. This is our first meeting.
Is
So
Dr.
what
Huntley
does it-
your sponsor?
What does it mean? You're asking for our support or acknowledgement, something to go to the legislature?
Yes, so we're asking for your consent to the creation of this district.
Does that back Temple into something that we don't foresee at this moment?
No, we do understand that we are going to have police, fire, and EMS services. I mean, that's just in every project I have that is not located in the city limits. And so we understand that fact.
This
And
is the
you
first
pointed
one.
out, earlier, there's two processes that they can go through,
Right.
the legislative process or the TCEQ process unless legislation changes that, but I don't think it's moving. So, this is their preferred way. It's a faster path for them. But they can do it without our consent if they go through the TCEQ process.
No, Belton has a few. I don't know if they have any up and running, but they're working on some. Would this be Temple?
We do
Right.
not, we do not have any MUDs within our ETJ.
You're saying Belton has MUDs up and running?
Elton does and Colleen does as well,
Yeah.
and within their ETJs.
Belton has at least two. One is up and running, has lots of residents. The second is in the early stages of development.
So you have Three Creeks and River Farm. And I think there's one currently working in Salado. Right, Rob?
Yep, that's the Solana Ranch.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
These could be a very helpful tool to municipalities.
Sure.
Because by the time you build this all out, maybe your city, your city boundaries are contiguous, or maybe the law changes. And then you can evaluate year to year whether it's something you want to take over at some time. But when you do take over, you do inherit the debt as well as the infrastructure, but you can always make that economic decision down the road. So it just helps with that. It helps these municipalities not to have to come out of pocket either for any of that infrastructure, which is a benefit. So long term, I think it's a really unique tool for municipalities to use to growth in their city.
Wouldn't Little River Academy be anxious to take it over if that occurred at that point, and as opposed to Temple? Because
They can't,
of the-
we're in your ETJ.
Oh, you said that a
Yeah.
dozen times. I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
All right, council, any more questions? Staff, any more input?
We would bring back an action item for your May 4th meeting for your consideration via resolution that would.
Okay.
So that'll be on the agenda at your next meeting.
Okay.
And if there's any questions that you think of between now and then, you can all just let me know and I'll be in touch and get those answered.
Anything else?
No.
Thank
Okay.
you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank y'all. All right, moving on to item 3 is to receive departmental updates from HR. Thank y'all. From HR, Transform Temple, and Housing Community Development. Brent, vice chair. Ready?
Thank you.
Board season.
You guys have the. Kelly has it. Thank you.
I wasn't looking far enough over. Hi, everyone.
So. We're about ready for summer, if you like, but, so this is our quarterly update. This is my team, the HR team here in the screen. So, the first quarter of the fiscal year, so this is covering October through December, we completed the civil service market study, the data collection and initial recommendations process. We completed some data collection for general government market studies in general, a benchmark, which we discussed last year during some of our discussions, looking at all of our positions in a benchmark study each year. So we completed that. We conducted one police entrance exam last quarter and some police promotional exams for the sergeant and corporal ranks. We are working on a project on updating the civil service local rules. So we continued working on that. I actually just got the final product back from our consultant we've been working with just this week, earlier this week. So that's moving forward pretty quickly. We're currently conducting and still conducting the feasibility study for an employee health and wellness center We've configured some new modules in our Dayforce. That's our HRIS system where we manage all of our hiring and transactions for employees, benefit enrollment, all of those good things. So we've configured some updated modules there. We launched a system called Benefit Hub for employees to be able to go there to get information on both their current benefits and look at other offers that are out there for different types of things that they can participate in. We redesigned the employee ID badge. It includes now our core values on the back of that. We have a project coming up where we're going to print new ID badges for employees. We're already giving those to new hires, but so that all employees will have that and they can flip their badge over if they're ever wanting to know what the core values are. And then we are continuing the project of scanning in all of our personnel files, and we're now working on historical ones. What that means is we've already scanned in all of our current employees' files. And so now we're going back to files of employees who have resigned or retired, and we're getting their files digitized at this time. So some projects we're working on now is we're reviewing the new positions that have been requested in the budget process, and we assign pay grades to those. We are looking at our benefits to see what RFPs we might need to conduct this year. We're going to be conducting some manager training, practices related to hiring, different actions in our HRIS, and some onboarding and offboarding modules that we have built and updated that we're rolling out. We have a big job description project where we are reviewing every job description in the city, of making sure they're up to date and also looking at different formats. That includes a workflow system that allows for the department directors and hiring managers to review those and approve them as the changes are being made. We have, we just conducted, I should say, 2 more police entrance exams, or 1 actually last week, and we have 1 this weekend. So sorry about that, but those 2 listed there are actually in April. And then we have 3 more promotional exams. We have some of those coming up May 8th. We also are scheduling to do some more entrance exams in the coming months. We're trying to do 2 per month going forward. And then we're going to continue the project with the update of the civil service local rules. So just a little update on our first quarter of the plan year. This was, we've changed health plan providers. And so I like to say it's an immature look when you look at just the first quarter, because you have a lot of claims that haven't hit yet. People are still getting used to the new insurance and haven't used it yet. But this is a overview of that. So just looking at our plan enrollment, what we did over the open enrollment timeframe is we had 675, this is employees who enrolled. Prior to that, in the past year, we had 641 employees. That's participation in our medical plan. The HSA plan, we had 269 employees that elected that plan. That's a gain of about 54 employees as compared to the prior year. For the PPO plan, we gained 1. So we have 406 employees that are enrolled in that plan. So in our first quarter of the year, we had a claims reduction if you compared it to the same time frame the year before, but again, a very immature time frame. Now our second quarter, I just got these numbers last week, we actually had a huge increase. We actually had some very high claims in the month of February that hit. So now we're trending at about a 10% increase over the same time period last year. Our top prescription, I always look at these kind of things to see like, what are we look like as an organization? Where are we spending a lot of our money? So I just like to provide some of those facts sometimes, but our top prescription condition is diabetes. 9 out of the top 25 high cost drugs on the list and that are most prescribed are diabetes related medications. And that's quite common actually, not just here. I've seen that other places I've worked too. Those types of conditions seem to be at the top a lot. So our key performance indicators. So here's our recruiting and application indicators. So our total applications by month during the quarter, you'll see we had the most applicants submitted in October. But that's the totals for each month. So we're getting a lot of applications in the system. Applications by source, Indeed is still continues and has been since we've been tracking it to be the #1 source where we're getting candidates from. Indeed is very popular in the recruiting world, but for us here as well. Followed by our city website, and then we have a few others up there too. We do get quite a few from employee referrals as well. The top 4 positions, so these are the positions that got the most job applications during the quarter. So you'll see the police entrance exam, that was #1. We do get a lot of people sign up for that. And then our police record specialist was the #2 top rated for that quarter.
Sarah, did y'all start the employee referral program when there's some type of benefit they're gonna receive or a small amount of money?
That's proposed for next fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah, we're asking for that. Gotcha. So our new hires and how many we processed per month, you'll see the #1 department for the last quarter was Public Works with 29. Followed by other, which is just as a mix of all the various departments, and then parks. So those are where we're doing the most hiring or onboarding. And then the number by month over here, you'll see November and December had the higher number, but they're all pretty close with how many hires by month. So the police entrance exams, these are the October and February numbers. We included February because those applicants actually start coming in the past quarter, but we generally have about 50% of the people show up will pass. So you'll see 46 people actually showed up in October, 55 applied, 46 showed up and 21 passed. In February, 122 candidates applied. Out of that, 44 actually showed up for the exam, and then 18 of those passed during that time frame. So our new hire processes, so we like to track how many of our new hires are completing all of their tasks. They're assigned to tasks when they're hired, like reviewing the employee policy manual, completing their benefits enrollment, various other steps they take. And this kind of shows you what that looks like. October, we had about 52%. We were up to 73% in December. We did implement towards the end of last quarter where we call every single candidate several times to try to remind them and get them to go in and complete their task. They get emails, they get phone calls. So we think that's helping because our numbers got better. And then the percent completing orientation, we now, we sign them up when they start. So we went from having 29% in November to 64% in December. So we have much better participation when we actually say, come here on this date at this time. So that seems to be working. And then our number of new hires that actually enroll in their benefits, you'll see that number's been pretty consistent. Again, that is a process where we send multiple emails and we call. Some people have asked, well, why would someone not enroll? A lot of times they have benefits, the ones that don't enroll, through like their spouse. And so they just keep ignoring the emails and phone calls and they just don't do it. But we do try to get them all. Change forms, these are those yellow forms that we used to fill out for every transaction that relates to an employee. So over the last quarter, we processed 268 of those. Quite a few in October. You'll see it kind of trends down. One thing to note is like any new positions that are added during the budget process, those are usually posted in early October through that month and they're hiring for those. So that does lead to some increase there. Our turnover by department, you'll see on the left side of the screen. So the golf course shows it had the highest turnover during the quarter. You have to remember though, even if you have a small department or a small group, and this is broken down more by like division than just full department. But if they have like 10 people and they have 1 or 2 leave, that can lead to a really high number for their turnover. So those numbers are over here on the left. For the monthly turnover on the right, on the top right, that's the organization wide. We had a 4% turnover during the quarter. And that's just shown by month what our turnover rate was, which that's not really a bad number. 4% isn't real bad. That's pretty good.
Is that in line with where it's been historically?
No, I would say that this is better. There were, if I go back and look, I know there were some quarters we reported closer to the double digits, like 9 and 10% turnover. So, and then you'll see a big turnover usually at the end of each summer because you've got all the summer hires going back to college and such. But that's a pretty good one. I think that's pretty low for us, which is a good thing, good sign. So we have a exit review process. It's a document that's sent to everyone who's leaving. We call them once we find out an employee is separating, and we say, we hear you're leaving. We're going to send you this form. Could you kindly fill it out for us? It's not mandatory. We had 43 people leave the city during that quarter. Out of that 43, 8 completed it. And we asked them what their primary decision factor was, and they can select multiple things. So they can say, I'm leaving because I'm moving away, and I'm going to get better pay where I'm going, or I think I'm moving because of pay, and I'm moving because of benefits. I mean, they can say multiple things. So of the 8 people who answered that left, the number one reason was tied for dissatisfaction with management, pay, and other. And other can be school. I'm going to college. Or sometimes they will put a comment of why it is. So there were 8 people who actually responded. We have a new offboarding process that we're rolling out, and everyone who's leaving, they'll check off that they've returned their city property and things like that. And this survey is included in that process. So we're hoping to get more input and more participation in the exit survey process. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
No changes day to day. Right now, how many FTEs?
Oh, I have to go the filled positions. I actually did this the other day, it's 700 and something are filled. We do have some vacancies. I think I currently have close to 90 job postings. A lot of them are summer positions.
Okay. And still, I mean, obviously we're low in police, low in parks and public works. Public works had a pretty good quarter.
Doing pretty good. Dawn.
I think we've got
For
200.
the management.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Satisfaction with management.
Definitely.
Always.
We've got 218 positions filled out of 254. So we've got 36 vacancies. Right there in the mid to high 80s, like usual. I think we're at 86%.
Yeah.
And we're anywhere between 208 employees and 221. We have been for more than a year now.
Yeah. Okay.
I did want to ask, I don't know if it's okay for me to ask a question.
I
I
say let it roll. See what
That'd be
happens.
nice. I held my tongue last council session. I was wondering what month the compensation adjustments were implemented in, because I was looking at your top 3, like turnover, departments by month. Can you recall what?
The compensation study, the first pay went out, the first paycheck in October. So it was implemented at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Thank you.
That was the standard general government.
Yes, the general government market study.
Right. But then there was that one in the summer.
That was the previous, in June, there was an increase given across the board, increase of 4%, including both general government and city
Right,
service.
right.
That was for all.
Well, and then first quarter you had overall low turnover. So maybe those things made a difference. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, we're hopeful. And keeping an eye on it. Like I said, we did do a benchmark study this year as well. So we're just keeping an eye on where we are with the market.
Good. Very good. Thank you. Council, any questions for Ms. Raymore?
Very thorough.
All right, we gotta get cracking. Jana was very clear that I'm yappy. So, did you get going on this thing? Also, I've given you all we've talked about it before, but these are the flyers that we send out with high grass to alert people to the availability of the tool library. We talked about it before, but it's very helpful to the population. And some sweet pens that we ordered. To,
No, I like that.
Yeah, they're kind of
Very
tactile. So Transform Temple has grown from me and two guys. We've taken on code compliance and kind of grown overall over the past, 7, 8 years? I can't remember. Tracy probably.
Something like that.
Yeah. But most recently we've taken on parking and we're very happy with Mark, our parking manager. And of course, Daphne's great. We took her from PD, but she's great. Anyway, feeling good about the people. I'll have another similar slide at the end that y'all probably saw at the budget retreat, just kind of talk about where we'd like to go. So all our positions are currently filled. Actually, when I first made this slideshow presentation, we lost somebody, but then I hired somebody before I had to give this presentation. So all positions are
Cheaper
filled.
just to change the presentation.
Except we need the person.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
overall,
I got you.
Just going down the numbers, Chad's team does all of this and more. But board ups, pool library, dumpster drops, and I'll go through some of these. But starting off with our tool library, you can see that it's grown. Great help from communication and marketing. I think they did a push regarding the tool library. Was it mid-February, early February, maybe? Yeah, something like that. You can see it jumped from 37 transactions and 14 new patrons, and then in March it was even higher, 70 and 19. A lot of that's also it's mowing season, so people are checking out mowers. We did find that some electric mowers were on sale, some battery powered mowers. So we got one of those to try it out. I think it's checked out tomorrow for the first time, but the guys used it and they think so. Thought that'd be interesting. Safer to store, safer to haul around the gas. So we'll see. Our dumpster drops, we've had, 7 different events overall over the last 6 months, 12.5 tons of garbage and 763 tires picked up off the street. We think that's a success. Nancy thinks it's a success. Dawn fights me on a little bit, but I think overall it is a success. I think we're getting stuff off the street that we don't have to look at.
That's the focus.
It is the focus. Dawn wants hard numbers. So how is this helping you? Are you still having COVID? And I'm having difficulty putting all that together, but I think overall citizens are happy with it.
Yeah.
And when we don't do one in somebody's neighborhood, we do get phone calls. But where's the dumpster drop? We need to know. So that shows that the community is involved.
Would it ever be useful to put a dumpster at illegal dumping sites? Have you ever thought about that?
The problem is illegal dumping sites are most often private property. So we'd have to set it on the side of the road. Most of the time we do a dumpster drop, it's on our property. But we could probably get agreements and drop
Then the
them.
landowner wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
It may not be a bad idea.
You'd have to leave it there.
I didn't think about that. Put a camera on it.
Dump after they.
Yes.
Then it becomes a legal dump site. But it's an
We should think about it.
but it's
That's a good idea.
enclosed.
But you would think that whoever's dumping illegally, they have a dumpster they can use, right?
Yes, sir.
Not for a mattress.
Yes, sir.
They could take it to the dump for free once a month with their water bill.
Oh, please.
Or to any dumpster drop in the city, which we're trying to do 18 a year. Anywhere in this, you might have to drive across town, but there's a dumpster drop somewhere in
Oh,
town.
they're not gonna do that.
Who's gonna dump their stuff right next to the dumpster?
That's true. They don't want to let the, see, this is not me. Yeah.
Don's not listening.
No, it was Jana who got it. So the infill program, we talked about the infill program. I wish I'd included it. I'll get it next go around. Brittany showed me a couple of photos. I guess she went out yesterday to look at some of our projects from a weedy lot to a nice new house in one of our, I'm not sure if it was one of these or probably one of these. Anyway, so forward, that's good. One in historic, 2 in the downtown district. and then one down in Crestview. The abatement team, we've mowed city-owned lots 154 times. That also includes the TRC lots. Back and forth. Code has put out 190 code orders to mow. We have mowed lots 271 times. Or I'm sorry, of the ones that we've identified as a violation of code, 271 have gotten mowed. 100 of those, the owners, after we notified them, mowed it. And then 171, the city mowed. And then once again, that 763 number of tires from the dumpster drops. And then off the street, that literally means just picking up when we see them on the side of the road. 348, that's a lot of time.
Yeah,
Are you
that one spot that you showed us.
Oh, 14th Street.
Are you picking up mattresses on the side of the road?
We call solid waste.
I see. No wonder John doesn't like you.
Don's not in. And then signs, 541, those are the signs. And the I buy houses, I've talked to you all about this before, but these signs, I think it's $2 a piece or $1 a piece to install them. So they go out and install them over the weekend. We find the quicker you get them down, the less return on the investment they get for whoever's paying to put these up. So we try to get them down quick.
Have we called the number?
Say what they say.
Yeah, we
It
did.
exists?
They aren't.
Sorry.
That was the first thing we did. It
That's so
was right there. Why not use it? Yes, ma'am. But once they figure out who we are. No, Chad and I have used our personal phones. I have asked Hammer to call. Any way to sneak, like, where are you? And then we'll go find them. But yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. I should.
No, perfectly okay. I can invite you.
4 CIP demos, Old Waco, East Avenue C, or 2 on Old Waco, and then 1 on FM 317. That's before and after one of the ones on Waco. Yeah, sure.
I know somebody who'd buy those.
What does that? I gotta sell 50 cents a piece. Code compliance, we've had 2 building standards, BSC meetings, 2 building and standards meetings. Of those 2 meetings, we've done 6 orders to demolish and 2 orders to secure. We've done 8 demos from the BSC. Some of those go back to older. It takes about 4 or 5 months from the time we have building and standards meeting to the time that the building actually goes to the ground. I just threw some numbers in there. So we get $40,000 from CDBG funding every year. So we're using some of the money from last year. We're catching up. So we spent $53,000 in CDBG money. And then last year, not true, this year, y'all have funded us, given us some general fund money so we can go outside the normal CDBG areas to demo. And of that, we've spent basically 3/4 of the money that y'all get us. That is increasing over time when we're asking that we can use it.
Is this a board up or a demo?
First a board up and then a demo. Is that gone?
Yes, it's
Okay, gone. Yeah, we run into that a lot. That could have been a gorgeous house, but you needed to have caught it 20 years ago. It's too late.
Yep.
So we're using our neighborhood planning district process, the Love Where You Live process, to grade each structure in each neighborhood. And then as we get shutoffs from utility business office, if that structure has been rated F, we go look, and if the structure is not occupied, we red tag it, which makes it illegal or against code for somebody to move in that structure. So slowly but surely, we're trying to get these structures fixed up, because once you start getting people in their pocketbook, they start fixing up the property. And then we've sent, and the judge has talked to you all about this, we have sent 207 complaints or citations. That's just prior to a citation, we send complaints to the municipal court in the last 6 months. And I think 3 or 4 years ago, it was 0. So we shut it down. So that's a big number, and our code team does great work. Neighborhood districts, I'm sure Nancy, if I give her time, we'll be talking about those, but, and they wore the shirts, the whole bit. We've done of the original 18 districts that we have looked at. We have completed 9. We're working on 3. I think those numbers are still good. And then we're revising our list of neighborhoods, proposing some new ones. Code or Transform Temple is going back to some old ones. Some of the first ones we did just for regrading, mostly Ferguson and Crestview, and then we'll work on that. There's been a lot of activity over there. A lot of vacant lots now have houses on them. A lot of houses that were rated low have been fixed up. So we want to get new figures in those. And then case count. The bar on the far left is high grass, then Jandy is junk and debris. Junk vehicle is JV, POG, parking on grass, and then other is other. Generally, other is substandard houses and weird stuff. You can see that high grass was very along with that. We've also we lost a code officer, hired a code officer. He had to leave for personal reasons like 30 days after we hired him, and got another code officer in. So we got a new guy. So those numbers are low because we were understaffed. Comparison to last year, we're not doing horribly, once again, understaffed in the November, December, January. But in March, even with a brand new person, our numbers are getting back up there. And then the code case comparison. Oh, this is the last 3 years. So if y'all will recall the rain heat cycle, 3 years ago, 546. I think we were hundreds of mows behind at that point. So we're doing pretty good this year. Although it does seem to be maybe repeating that cycle. Chad's abatement team is staying on top of it pretty tight. We've talked about downtown parking. We're going to talk more about that at some point, we hope, in May. This is just generally what we're looking at in downtown parking. Moving forward for downtown parking, looking at chapter 37 revisions, what are we doing for instead of 2-hour parking? Are we doing that again? Electric vehicle sessions, on and on and on. And then some examples of what we're looking at. Parking cameras for inside the garages. Those are our static cameras. EV stations, that's what they look like. There are tubers. So you pull up on either side of them. We talked about that in regards to Tesla vehicles and the budget. We're getting one of these bad boys, and it will have a camera on the top. So I think I explained to you. Daphne will be able to drive down the street and it will automatically log license plates. And she doesn't have to get out and write a ticket. It will ding if that person's been there longer than whatever time we decide. So, and then it'll print out a ticket. These are garage signs for our garages, so people can see what the current count, the availability inside the garages. Code. These are some of the things we're working on. Revise the mow fees we've been working on for a while. It seems like we get started and then just kind of go on to other things. Training new hires, assist with a court of record, and we do support that. Parklet program, we're assisting. So as I think y'all realize that, but as planning comes to y'all with revisions in their code, and somebody starts breaking that code, we're the enforcement on. So for the Parklet program that y'all have approved some time ago, if somebody's breaking those rules, we're the guys who get to go. We get to be the heavies. That's good enough there. Department. The big thing here is, of course, we're helping with Aaron and City Manager's office, but the TRC board with property, so mowing, trying to figure out ownership, contacting people. The big one is hawks. We have hawks downtown. Chad found somebody to kill grackles and chase them off. So there's a falconer who's been several times downtown and chasing off the grackles. So he comes in and talks about the story.
Where'd the falconer come from?
He lives down in that Austin area.
And where? Oh, Austin area.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a falconer at Fort Hood.
Yeah.
We did a request. That's on that.
Oh, okay.
We did a request.
Okay.
We put it out there.
If he didn't answer that. And then once again, going back to our folks that we have working for us, what we are asking for, or have asked for in our budget is we already had in line for 2 Transform Temple agents. We want one of those to be a lead agent. We talked about that for our evening current. Also, we already had in line for a full-time admin to come in, which means we currently, I like to talk about positions rather than people, but Brittany, who is sitting in our coordinator position, is the perfect person to move up into more of a managerial level to run our office staff. And as I said earlier, she's already been helping Chad with some of the infill stuff. She's really been supportive as far as some of the projects. So that's what we want to change her coordinator position to a manager. Oh, said, how do you do? Not gonna get the poster.
How well can you do?
I can do less than 10.
You
I can
sure?
do 8.
It's gonna,
We don't want to cut you
it's
short.
gonna take you 10 minutes to pass the stuff out.
Dude. Although I feel kind of bad because of the whole diabetes thing.
As long as it's not peeing.
Sorry.
I'm glad I gave my gifts before Nancy's, because following Nancy with gifts is never a win.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna run through this really quickly. Our team is fully staffed, and I think you guys have met our newest addition, Nick Taylor. He's our homeless services coordinator. He has just really hit the ground running and such a help so far. I'm really happy to have him. Just a reminder about our mission. We're all about neighborhood revitalization and enhancement to improve the quality of life. So our primary focus areas, as you guys know, we have our health and resource division, and that division focuses primarily on our housing improvement program, rental reinvestment, and home maintenance academy, good neighbor program, and those types of things. Neighborhood planning under Belinda. She's just been doing a fantastic job of leading the Love Where You Live initiative, the community engagement aspect of that, building neighborhood coalitions, and we'll talk about some of her successes with that, and then our neighborhood leadership academy, which we thought was a great success. Grant management falls under Brittany, and that division manages inbound and outbound grants for the city, including CDBG and our home program. And then also, last but not least, our newly added homeless services division under Nick Taylor, implementing the Operation Rise strategic plan. So just some updates for you guys, and all of these are ongoing programs. So this is a combo, what we've done and where we're going kind of slide. We had 4 Good Neighbor programs assisted the last part of the season last year, but so far this season, we're up to 15 recipients of help and 23 volunteers. So our program is off to a great start. Yeah. And we wanted to make sure you guys got your Good Neighbor t-shirt. You can rep the program for us. We do have different sizes if you need. So we're really, really excited about that. We had one cleanup event, and that was in Midtown the first quarter. We've had 4 community engagement events, 2 in Temple Heights and 2 in Silo. And those were both all under the leadership of Belinda, and she's just done an incredible job with those. We had our Home Maintenance Academy in the fall. We had 6 graduates from that. That is coming up again on May the 20th. We have our neighborhood party trailer. We're kind of working on some new policies and procedures for that, but we have been using it very actively in our own engagement events. Our housing improvement program and rental reinvestment program, we feel have been, the housing improvement program, absolutely 100% successful, doing really great work. This is a before and after picture of that home. After we put the new roof on, the gentleman went out and painted it. He had the outside, got some friends to help him. And he's just so proud of his house that it just made a huge difference in that home. The rental reinvestment program, that's a real before and after of that home before the improvements were done. We are revamping that program too, and we'll bring a proposal to you guys soon for that. But it's tied to the Section 8 or Housing Choice Voucher Program, and there are none. So we need to try to redo that, and we're thinking to just tie it to an income-based affordability program.
Nancy,
So we'll bring
there are no vouchers available?
there are no
I
vouchers.
mean, if they're all being used, or that they've cut back on the number available?
they're all being used. They get a very limited number of vouchers per cycle, and all of them are being used.
I think that speaks to the success of the program as it was initially envisioned, because we were having
Right.
vouchers left on the table because there wasn't property that could meet the qualification. So I think that we're now needing to change direction a little bit is actually a success story, because
Right.
the initial thing that we were trying to accomplish, we have.
And just like in the last, when I've been at housing meetings at the COG, where they had a number of vouchers, like over 100. Now, that's for the whole COG, right? Not for Temple. Still, that's great progress. Is part of the evaluation program for the housing improvement program is one of the first things, even though that might not be what the initial call was about, is checking the roof.
Yes.
Because so many times, I know that when we do the building and standards, not building and standards, but what Beaver just talked about, knock off, is it? Normally, the first problem was water intrusion, right?
Yeah,
The roof was bad.
that's the start of all of the.
So you wonder how
degradation.
many houses you could save, if the call is about one thing, to check the roof also.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do a top-down inspection of every property, and we try to identify any threats to health and safety. That is definitely, no doubt, an immediate threat to safety.
No, I mean, I did come up with putting the dumpsters at the legal level, so I'm hot today. So.
I think I told you before, we always get, leftover, people don't want to deal with the shingles, so they bring them back to the yard, and we're stuck with all these random shingles that we can't resell, so we just, if someone wants them, they can take them, so we're happy to pass those back on to the city, and I'm sure maybe match some,
Sure.
so I'll get with you on that.
Okay.
Between the paint program and the Lakeville shingles.
Yeah. Our homeowner assistance and reconstruction program, funded by the home partnership through TDHCA, is rocking along. We have demolished 3 of those homes, and we're doing site work right now to get ready to start construction. We're so excited. Every day coming by 2nd and 25th and Central, I was just, please let today be the day. Let today be the day. And it was finally gone. So yeah, really excited about that one. Just have some numbers about our grant program, the inbound grants that we have applied for, and that was in first quarter. Brittany has far surpassed that now at this point. And then we did get a bump in our CDBG funding for next fiscal year, a little over $100,000. So we're really excited about that. The Love Where You Live initiative and everything under under Belinda has been fantastic. Have a couple of pictures of some community engagement events in the Neighborhood Leadership Academy. For those of you that were able to come, we appreciate your support. Looking forward to that event just continuing to grow and grow under Belinda's leadership. We have 3 brand new neighborhood coalitions. So far, we have Crestview Ferguson. Ferguson Park is new. We found recently found a champion for that one. East Downs Garden, Bird Creek and Jackson, those are both new, and then Midtown. So really rocking along through that program. Going to recognize those neighborhood champions at council tonight. Our neighborhood identification program is coming along really well. We're really close to having construction documents completed and starting the bid process and getting the first district sign put out.
Those be lit.
Yeah, we're looking at different types of lighting options though, but yeah.
Do we know where they're gonna be going?
We do. Yeah, and I can probably send out a map of those to you guys too. The Homeless Services Division is doing some great work. We've got several work groups that are working right now. Substance use disorder treatment team has a new person going in, we hope on Monday. And that'll be our first one. Colleen also has a person that started the program too. and developing policies and procedures for some of those others as well. So that work is continuing on. Keep Temple Beautiful Partnership is coming together as well. We are helping them with a lot of their administrative duties and helping to do some cleanup events that will help with the next Governor's Community Achievement Award application. So we'll give you more information about that forthcoming. Just some things coming up. We had our Bird Creek District Plan engagement event on the 13th. Belinda did a great job with that. This weekend, we have Love the Loop. We're cleaning from the I-35 to 57th Street, the rights of way along the loop there. And we're just going to take it a chunk at a time and do that once a quarter. Next Friday, the 28th, we're doing a site blessing and a prayer meeting for the Arbor Oaks site. We do have a site finally chosen for that. And it's at 4056 Little Flock Road. Please come and spread the word. We'd like to have as many people out with us that day, just making sure we get started on the right foot.
What time?
It will be at 3:00.
You'll send that out?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
It
you
should
will.
be, in your inbox right now.
Oh, okay.
And we have those other things. That is all I have. Okay, I was a little longer than needed.
Very good. Thank you,
guys.
Nancy. Got any questions for Nancy? Or Buford? I think that you may have already met.
Chad's here though, so the next best thing.
Yeah.
Or probably the better.
All right. If there is none, then thank you all for